I was too lazy to get dressed. Um, I was ostensibly about to go to bed, but then I thought that it might be fun to make a video. I wanted to talk about this is kind of like a topic that I want to present for people to discuss if they so wish about Western medicine and kind of comparing a little bit to herbalism and Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, Tibetan medicine, and whatever, Bach flower remedies, homeopathy, which I believe are by and large considered bunk by Western medicine. So, there's big discussions these days about the effects of vaccinations and the opioid crisis and the ethical sanctity of the scientists that are in charge of regulating the distribution of medicine. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I had to go and have a filling done, which for me is a huge source of anxiety. And I realized that actually the source of this anxiety is not necessarily dentistry itself, although I'm going to get into that. But throughout my life, I have had different phobias and I have changed them, kind of like hobbies. I have had a fear of dogs, which is not really over. When I was little, I was afraid of barbers because I thought that men with scissors were not to be trusted, except for my dad. I would sit and let my dad cut my hair for like 2 hours because my dad was a perfectionist and he would cut the left and then the right and then, oh, it's not even, and go back and forth many, many times. And I think there's even a allegory about that. Anyway, so I don't like to be poked or stabbed with things, and that includes dogs and their teeth. Although in the case of dogs, it's the barking, really. It's the sound of the barking, which when I was a little baby, I used to have a phobia about the sound of other babies crying. And so usually I would go into a catatonic state if there was a baby crying, and my mother would have to take me away. And to the point where I didn't really want to be around other babies very often because usually they would cry. Anyway, so now, so I have my phobias, and so this kind of a not position, but this question is somewhat motivated by the phobia. Does it seem to anyone else that medicine has followed a slightly militaristic path in terms of its development? Because it does strike me that a lot of the treatments that we have for ailments involve a lot of cutting and stabbing and poking. Does it not seem? I mean, I know that there's like laser therapy now, and now, this I'm going to link actually down below because just recently they discovered a gel in China which possibly can repair tooth enamel. So I think this is something that everyone should know about. Just kind of push for a little less pokey stabby dental work. But because, oh gosh, I mean, I have this phobia, but I know so many people go through huge anxiety about going to the dentist and having their mouth open, and it's kind of bizarre. Like we understand that we have to manage the pain, so our technique for managing the pain is to stick a tiny spike into your jaw and tell all your nerves to shut the fuck up. And then we're gonna drill. Like, I don't know, it's kind of carpentry a little bit, And then they patch it with stuff that your mouth is like, what is this? What are you putting up against me? This is the article that I read about the Chinese discovery. I don't think it was part of traditional Chinese medicine. I think these are scientists um, that would be recognized by Western scientists as scientists. But they were saying how, it's kind of a little bit backward that we have been expecting to, like, the height of um, treatment for our teeth, it has been to patch them with strange foreign substances that our body does not recognize as harmonious, which is why you have things falling out. Um, which has happened to me and my dad a number of times. I mean, I remember when crowns came out, we thought that they were going to replace teeth. I mean, you didn't need teeth anymore. You just get a crown. Just knock all your teeth out and get crowns. And never have to go to the dentist again. They don't get cavities. They're wonderful, except that they don't really stay in because your whatever you've bonded them to, which is usually like your teeth or part of your kind of the dentine that joins with the jaw, I guess, does not really recognize them as a friendly thing. So in a way, they're always trying to push it out. Whether it's zirconium or porcelain or whatever. I mean, in my mom's day, it was gold. And then I remember she had a lot of gold and silver fillings, and the silver was always falling out, and the gold was better. But it has, I think people switch to zirconium and porcelain because it looks better. But I wonder if it is as good as gold in terms of the bonding facility. Anyway, so the gel. Yes, I'm a fan of this gel because it involves less pokey stabby. Um, I mean, you're being raped by a tiny piece of metal in your mouth. It's like, it's messed up, dude. Come on. I don't like it. Anyway, so I thought that I would just express a little bit because I was quite frustrated today because I went for like a good hour and a half of drilling for filling. There was a cavity that had turned into something of a cave in my mouth, and due to my phobia, I neglect them more and then don't go more often, and then it gets worse, and then I finally get to the point of no return, and then I go, and then it's an ordeal. And then they told me there was lots more they wanted to do, and then the crown fell out that I was when I went to dinner, which means I have to go back probably. I'm so not in the mood. Anyway, so yes, so I like this kind of ties in with what Marianne Williamson said at the first debates, which, by the way, she was also the most Googled for. I know that they keep saying in the news she was the most Googled at the second debates, first debates too, her and Tulsi, just so you know. When she was talking about the sickness care system, I feel like the whole approach to medicine and to politics and to kind of everything in our philosophy of life is to find something that we consider bad and attack it, which is sort of the opposite of the homeopathic approach, which is to try and boost what is good. Like, that's the sort of approach of homeopathic medicine, is to boost the immune system and to encourage the body to heal itself. And I feel like that approach is needed in politics also. We need to augment the things that are good. And I like that Marianne Williamson talks about how great people are when she meets them. And she says that her favorite part of her campaign is meeting people on the campaign trail. And I think that is very right on. I think that is what it should be. I find the game of the polls and the what the media is saying, and they're pitting the candidates against each other, I find quite kind of repugnant, I think is the word. I think it's a little bit revolting, in fact. And I'm looking forward to sort of like I get when she's talking about change of consciousness. Like we could all change our thinking a little bit in terms of how we approach problems, because the thing is that if you approach a problem by trying to solve the problem, like you have to recognize what the problem is, but you can get to a point where you're just obsessing with problems all the time. And I know so many people who do this in their businesses. Even they just there's no end in sight for them because they have never had an end in sight. They can't imagine an end in sight, and so they never bother to envision one because they were always just in sort of crisis mode. And I think we have to actually mentally get out of crisis mode before we can actually begin to properly address the crises that are going on. Like I think we have to kind of say no in our minds to crises, and make a commitment to execute peace and prosperity and harmony and love. Like I think we have to kind of envision it and then find a way to be proactive about doing it. Now when it comes to teeth, I'm going to tie this back in. When it comes to teeth are a little more resistant because they're somewhere in between hair, which is dead, and cells in the body, which are alive. They are kind of alive, but they go into a state of atrophy when they develop, and that's why you have things like tooth decay and stuff. But anyway, supposedly this gel in China, I'm going to link it below, stimulates it to regrow a layer or something like that. Very, very minute at this point, but you know they're working on probably augmenting it, and I suspect it will be good one day. Hopefully not too far in the future. Hopefully before all my teeth fall out. You know. Anyway, so I had to rant about that because you know honestly, my dad is so sick of hearing, and the thing is, when you're familiar with people, you tend to just kind of, I don't know, express in the same patterns. And somehow when I'm expressing to you guys who are largely people that I don't know so well and don't have familiar patterns with, then I can kind of explore new directions in my mind about how to approach these things and how to express about them also. Anyway, so yes, I totally get people who find the idea of holistic medicine obnoxious, especially when you hear people talk in the floaty voice and, you know, we're holistic and ooh. But I think the point is to try and strengthen the body and lead from there, and then deal with the problems. Yeah, absolutely deal with the problems, but don't go in with like almost as if you're looking for problems to deal with constantly, and then your whole vision is being filled with problems, whether it's medicine or business or politics or whatever, or just fixing up your own life. I think you got the point of what I'm saying. I think I'm repeating myself, like, and I think I've done it 3 times now. Anyway, so I hope you like my new look. This is me in my blanket because I didn't want to put clothes on to shoot the video. And I'm not quite at the level of some of these guys who just like to do shirtless video. I don't think I'm there. Anyway, love you all, and blessed be